Hey guys, Dave Ward here. I just want to start by thanking you for taking the time to look over this 4-part series I'm doing on how Team Beachbody coaches earn money. I want to start just by saying as well that you're probably watching this video for one of two reasons. Either you are currently a coach and you're just trying to kind of figure all this stuff out and looking for some information, or you're somebody who's interested in Team Beachbody coaching. If the latter is the case, and that's why you're watching this video, and you're not working with somebody else, if you're already working with somebody else, really go back to that person and get in touch with them. I'm more than happy to just give you the information. But if you're not working with somebody else, my wife Monica and I have been coaches since the beginning, always looking for people to sponsor into this business and mentor. Happy to spend some time with you and figure out if this is going to be the right opportunity for you. So please get in touch with me. All right, with that, let's move on to the next step in our 4-part series. All right, guys, here we go. Part 4 of the 4-part series on how Team Beachbody coaches earn money. Team Cycle Bonus. Here we are. We have come to the culmination of this series where I'm going to talk to you about Team Cycle Bonus. First, before I do that, and I'm going to have a link to this in the description section below, Michael Neiman, who's Senior Vice President at Team Beachbody, filmed a hilarious video where he uses action figures and talks and explains Team Cycle Bonus in a way that's going to be a lot more in-depth than what I'm going to cover. I'm going to talk a lot about the structure of things, okay? I'll explain some of the basics, and I've got some scenarios that I'm probably going to run you through unless this video gets really, really long. But what I want to talk to you about is the structure, okay? And that's kind of what I want to focus on. I'm going to recommend you to Michael for the math. What I've laid out here is a hypothetical organization. This is not anyone's particular organization. I'm sure there's somebody out there that looks just like this, but that's not my intention. My intention is just to kind of show you hypothetically how our business grows and how your ability to earn Team Cycle Bonus is affected by the productivity of your organization. And again, I said this in one of the earlier videos, but I'm going to say it again. It is so important for you to understand that Team Cycle Bonus in particular, and all these bonuses, but Team Cycle Bonus in particular, is based on productivity. Okay, your team has to be productive in order for you to earn any significant amount of income from Team Cycle Bonus, because that's what it's about, okay? And if you're being offered a business opportunity that doesn't involve getting paid for productivity, instead just is gonna pay you for, I don't know, signing somebody up who never does anything, for example, I would really carefully examine that and question whether you're getting involved in an illegal pyramid scheme or not. And I say that very carefully as a former lawyer, but I would have some real questions about a business that's willing to pay you for nothing. That's not legitimate business in all likelihood. And again, you should go and investigate that on your own, because I am not involved in another business. I'm involved with Team Beachbody. That's my business, and this is the business I know and have known since the inception, really. My wife was one of the founding coaches. So let's talk about this organization. What I'm showing you here is a couple things. Let's kind of build the key, right? First of all, PS stands for Personally Sponsored Coach, okay? So you've got a PS here, 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 a PS here. Then we have ECPS. EC is an Emerald coach that you have personally sponsored, and we have one here and one here. Why have I laid it out this way? Because this is what it looks like to be a diamond coach. You have an Emerald coach that you have personally sponsored and 3 other personally sponsored coaches on each leg, and boom, you're a diamond. Who are all these other people? They're coaches that other people have sponsored in your organization. So let's take a look at this leg, which is the left leg, because I'm facing it, right? So that's left. So you have an upline, and then you have the coach that sponsored you, and then there's you. Now, I'm assuming that's happening on your left leg. It might be happening on your right. It's just as likely that it's on your right, to be honest with you. There's no rhyme or reason to that. I just use left because I picked it that way. And you need to understand this, by the way, which one of these legs your coach is going to build on, okay? And that's a pretty simple conversation with the person that sponsored you into this business. Okay, so we have a coach. The first person that is in under you is somebody that you personally sponsored. Great. The next one has a C next to it because they're a coach. And they're just a coach that somebody above you has placed in your organization. This one I gave you an EC, and I put it in red because I wanted to illustrate that that person, the person above you, may sponsor Emerald coaches in your organization. That's important to understand that that can happen, but it doesn't make any difference for you as far as qualifying for any of the other rank advancement bonuses or the leadership bonus or the matching bonus. They're just in your organization and they're doing a little bit more than most people. They could just as easily be a diamond coach in your organization too. Believe me, that happens. If you're stick around long enough, this person here will advance to diamond and you'll have a diamond in your organization who you did not personally sponsor, okay? What does that mean? It just means they're more productive. There's more volume that's going to come from them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Right? So then we kind of get down here, and again, I put this red person because to be an emerald coach, this person has to sponsor a coach in each leg, and that's the same one with the green, right? I showed you here, emerald coach. Here in this scenario, the emerald coach has their first coach there, and then their second coach way down here, and it just so happens that they fall in after a line of other coaches that have come in to the organization. It's pretty simple. That's how an organization builds. That's how the structure lays out. All of these people fall in a simple line based on chronology. It's, you know, if this person signs up on a Saturday, they go here. This one signs up on a Sunday, they go here. This one signs up on Monday, they go here. There's no moving people around. There's none of that nonsense. It's just based on whoever gets in first. Boom, boom, boom. That's why if you are somebody watching this video, you want to get in quickly. There should be some urgency on this for you because you don't know who these people are who are coming in beneath you. You know, this emerald coach, if they had made the decision a day before or you know, this one, they'd be here and they'd have an emerald coach in their downline instead of being in the downline of an emerald coach. I know this firsthand because my wife, I was not the first person that my wife sponsored into this business. She actually sponsored Lee Ratterman and another coach named Angela. Angela's a diamond coach. Lee is a star diamond coach who, along with us, in 2010 was in the top 10 coaches in the company. And I'm in Lee's downline rather than Lee being in my downline simply because I didn't act with any urgency on it when my wife asked me about it, which was dumb, but that's the way it goes. And it's all worked out in the end, of course. But let's talk about this leg now. Right, on this leg, I have this little note here called spouse. I don't want to dive into that too much. But if you are married, you can open a second business center on day one. You can sponsor your spouse into this business. Okay, so we have separate business centers. You know, my wife, again, we have 5 separate business centers. 3 of them are, I guess, technically assigned to her. 2 are assigned to me. We have a corporation that owns all of them. But that's how this works. You're able to open this second business center and start that on day one, which could be the way that you get to Emerald Coach in the very beginning. That's what a lot of people do. They sponsor somebody into the business who's a friend or a contact of theirs or maybe a customer. It just depends. In the business, and then the second person they sponsor is their spouse, and that helps them advance immediately to Emerald Coach. Why have I laid out all this structure with all of these coaches who aren't personally sponsored to you, right? Doesn't personally sponsored coaches isn't that the only thing that makes a difference? No. It's the only thing that will help you advance in rank, okay? You have to personally sponsor people in this business to develop your organization, to push it to Diamond Coach, and then on to Star Diamond Coaches. Those are all personally sponsored coaches. But each one of these people, whether they're personally sponsored to you or not, contributes towards Team Cycle Bonus, which is what I want to talk about, okay? So now you kind of see the structure. It's important to understand this about Team Cycle Bonus, that Team Cycle Bonus is not based exclusively on your personally sponsored coaches. It includes everybody who's underneath you, everybody. So again, if this person here, if we hit the fast forward button a year or something, and this person here went absolutely bananas and became a 10-star diamond, right? And it builds a huge organization. You're gonna get Team Cycle Bonus off of whatever volume they create. Again, it doesn't do anything for you in terms of your own rank advancement or in terms of the matching check bonus or the leadership bonus that I've talked about in the previous videos. What it does do is create volume for you to cycle off of, and again, it's about productivity and being productive and having people in your organization who are. So how does Team Cycle Bonus work now that we've sort of laid out the organization? Well, it can be complicated, but I'm going to try to simplify things. Every time you have 200 points on one leg and 100 points of volume on another leg, you make a cycle, okay? And so if you're an Emerald Coach, that cycle, you get $14 for that cycle. If you're a Ruby Coach, you get $16 for that cycle. If you're a diamond coach, you get 18 for that cycle. Now, in this scenario, you've got this one leg that is growing on its own, right? Because you've got people above you who are building that leg. So in all likelihood, the 200 is going to come, from your strong leg, and the 100 is going to come from your weak leg. I'm using these terms strong, weak, because this one, since it's not just you building it, because you're building this leg over here and everybody's building out here, okay, this is probably going to be the stronger leg. But the multiples could come from the other way too, and this can flip. You never know. This person could go bananas and become the next 15-star diamond and, you know, completely blow this leg out, and all your multiples of 200 would come from here. It doesn't matter. What's important is every time you get 200 and 100, that's when you cycle, okay? So just to give you kind of an example, right, a Shakeology is worth 90 points. So when these people are consuming Shakeology, because it's also based not just on their sales, but on what they buy for themselves, is buy or sell. It all creates volume. So if this person here buys Shakeology and sells Shakeology, they're going to create volume, right? And every time they sell a Shakeology or buy a Shakeology for themselves, there's going to be 90 points of team volume that come rolling on up to everybody, right? That's important too. It's like if this person just has 90 points, right? They create that 90 points through one Shakeology sale. This person has 90 points of team volume. This person has 90 points. 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 They have 90 points, and everybody above them has 90 points as well. So I hope what you can see by just illustrating that simple example of one Shakeology sale is the bigger your downline is, the more potential you have to create these multiples of 200 and 100. Because, right, it's the same situation for here. If this person does 90, they get 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 90, and you get 90. And so does the people above you. All right? So that's kind of the key on how Team Cycle Bonus works. I'm going to just give you a couple examples. I'm going to move this over here. So let's just say that you had a week where, and again, we'll go left and we'll go right. And hopefully I can make this nice and clean because it's struggling to write on this board. Let's say you had a week where you had 400 over here and 100 over here. All right. So again, this is in my scenario, this is going to be the one that probably does more volume. Hypotheticals, right? These are all hypotheticals. This is not based on any actual circumstance, and we make no guarantees about income, and that's an important thing. We'll have a nice little disclaimer in the description section for you to look over. What would happen in this situation? Well, you have a multiple of 100, but you don't have, and you've got two multiples of 200, but you've only got one multiple of 100 to match it. So that's one cycle. All right, that's what it looks like. That's one cycle. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're an Emerald coach, that would get you 14 bucks. If you're a Ruby coach, it would get you 16. If you're a Diamond coach, it would get you 18. But as you can see, for an organization like this, it's not likely that 400 is what it's going to be, right? I mean, if these people are active, they're all drinking Shakeology, and this person's selling Shakeology, and so is that person. So it's going to be, the numbers are going to be a little bit higher than that. So let's say the next week, it looks more like this, and it's 800. And what's my scenario? 400. Well, here's what happens. When you cycle up here, okay, you have leftover volume. You didn't use all of the 400. You used all of the 100, but there's 200 left over here. You don't lose that volume. That volume is what we call carryover volume. So it's really not 800. It's really 1,000. Because you had 200 that rolled down from the previous week. Quick note about carryover volume. You start establishing carryover volume when you reach the rank of Emerald Coach. You lose it if you go inactive. So if you fall out of Emerald, you don't lose your carryover volume. But if you go inactive, meaning that your coach account is not buying or selling 50 points, which is like nothing, every 5 weeks, and you go inactive, all of that flushes. If you're sitting over here somewhere, that could be a huge number. So do not let your coach account go inactive. That is a tremendous mistake. All of the carryover volume will flush, and you will go back to zero. Don't do that, okay? Because this carryover volume ends up becoming very, very significant. So let's go back to the scenario. So now we've got, instead of 800, 800 was what the team did. You had 200 that carried over. You have 1,000 in this leg and 400 in this leg. What do we have in this scenario is we have 4 cycles, okay? 4 cycles. What does that get you? Well, if you're an Emerald coach, that is going to get you 56 bucks. If you are a Ruby coach, it's going to get you 64. And if you're a Diamond, it's going to get you 72. Great. So there you go. That's a typical week for a lot of people. They have 1,000 points in one leg and 400 in the other, and they cycle 4 times, and they earn, you know, depending on what their coach rank is, that's what they earn. So let's keep going with this. All right, so let's say the next week, this team, their productivity keeps going up. But this team does zilch. All right, all these people over here fall asleep. They just take the week off and do nothing. Not very likely given this business structure, but that could happen. Well, guess what? You get nothing. You get no team cycle bonus. Why? Because there was no productivity. Okay, going back to the comment I had earlier about the business being related to the productivity of the people on your team. If they're not productive, you don't get paid because this isn't a pyramid scheme. Okay? This is a legitimate business opportunity, a legitimate marketing opportunity in which we get paid based on productivity. No productivity, you don't get paid. However, as I mentioned earlier, the 2,000 points would roll on over to the following week. So what do we have coming down here? Well, we had 200, right? Because the previous week we used up all 400 to cycle 4 times because we had 100 on this leg, multiples of 200 over here. We had 1,000. So that's 800 that we used up, 200 carries down. These people did 2,000 in this week, meaning when we add the carryover volume, we actually have 2,200. Okay? So hopefully you see how this works, where we've got the carryover volume being now 2,200 because all 2,000, you didn't use any of it, right? Because you didn't have any multiples of 100 here to offset it or to match it is a better way to put it. So you didn't use any of the 2,000 and you had 200 from the week before, so all of it just carries on over. Again, you don't lose this stuff unless you go inactive, and that is just, don't do that. I've seen a lot of people make that mistake over the years, and we try to really encourage people. All right, so here we are with our situation where we have 2,200 carryover volume. This is all carryover, right? Because you had the 200 and then you had the 2,000 that's new, the 200 carried over, and this was new. New volume. So we're at 2,200 carryover volume. So let's advance to the next week. And let's say people get back to work, right? And you give 1,000 points over here. And you have 2,000 over here. Well, this number is actually 4,200 because you have carryover volume. Right? You have 2,200 carryover volume because you had 200 from 2 weeks ago, and had 2,000 from the previous week, which you didn't use any of because you had 0 here. So now you've got 4,200 and 1,000. What's that going to get you? 10 cycles. 10 cycles, which will mean if you are an Emerald coach, you get 140 bucks. If you are a Ruby coach, you get 160 bucks. And if you are a Diamond coach, you get 180, right? Because every cycle it's 14 for Emeralds, 16 for Rubies, and 18 for Diamonds. Pretty straightforward. That's what a 10 cycle week looks like. And of course you have carryover volume that's left over here of 2,200. And that is how Team Cycle Bonus works. It's been a really long video. What I really want to impress upon you guys, and again, this can get super, super complicated. If you're talking to people about who are interested in our business, I don't think, unless they have some background in network marketing or really, really want to understand this stuff on a big time level before they get involved. And you will find some of those people, but most people, they aren't going to need this level of detail, you know? And I can tell you that I was a Diamond coach and then some before I understood it on this level. You don't need to understand it with this sort of depth in order to be successful in this business, and certainly don't need to be explaining this to your prospects. The idea behind this video really is to give you as a coach a little bit more in-depth understanding of how Team Cycle Bonus works. And that's my real goal here. Hopefully you get it. You know, the whole organization is what contributes. Team cycle bonus can be, as you can see, a really substantial amount of income. You know, I mean, I give you this 1,000 point week with 10 cycles, but you know, I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coaches. If they all do 90 PV, you can see how close you're getting to 1,000 cycles right there. Okay, this takes time to build, you know, and this isn't an organization that's going to build overnight, you know, and it's going to take time for, you know, the scenario I gave you with this Emerald coach to become that next 15 star. Don't worry about that stuff. Just get busy, plug away. If you haven't watched the other video I did where I laid out my weekly paychecks on the surfboard, actually, I didn't have a whiteboard, so I just used the surfboard and I laid out my weekly paychecks from my first week, which was August of 2008 was my first real official week. I was really jamming as a Beachbody coach. I'd been a coach before then, but I hadn't done anything. I laid out that week, which I made $26.42 that week. You know, laid it out to just last August, which was like a $3,000 week, something like that. I don't remember exactly. In one of our 5 business centers is the only thing that I did there. So hopefully this has become clear as mud to you. Again, I don't expect you to really get it and understand all this stuff. You get it by learning, by experience, and watch Michael Neiman's video. For this bit over here, Michael Neiman's video is going to be a lot better explanation. I was really trying to give you the structure and all that other stuff. So hopefully you found this helpful. Once again, if you're watching this video because you are thinking about becoming a coach and you are not working with a coach, I want to make this really clear. I'm not looking for people who already have sponsors in the business, not looking for people who already have potential sponsors in the business. I'm looking for people that if you're out there and you don't have anybody to coach you, and you're looking to be involved with this business and you want a sponsor who knows what they're doing and who is in for the long haul, we can be those people for you. So please reach out and contact me. My email address is info@thefitclubnetwork.com. You can, of course, find more information in the description below. I hope you're having a great day. Talk to you soon.